On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd was placed face down in the street with his hands behind his back and a police officer's knee on his neck. For 8 minutes, he pleaded with officers, telling them he couldn't breathe and asking for his mother, but his cries were ignored. Caught on video, the world watched as George Floyd's life was taken from him in broad daylight. Video of his death quickly spread around the world, becoming both a catalyst for positive action, as well as an igniter of racial unrest. In a rare outcome, people from across the political spectrum came together to denounce the conduct of the officers involved. Protesters in countries all over the world took to the streets to demand justice for Black lives in America. The officers were arrested. NASCAR banned the Confederate flag from its races. Companies like Amazon and Walmart posted Black Lives Matter banners on their websites. Some governments passed laws designed to curb police misconduct, and major corporations committed to donating millions of dollars toward racial justice. But we also witnessed a familiar pattern of unrest. Riots broke out in cities across the country. Windows were broken, buildings were burned down, cars were destroyed, and violence claimed additional lives. As I've watched the world respond to George Floyd's death, I've had two dominant emotions. The first is hope. It's been encouraging to see the humanity of so many people genuinely moved by the injustice they witnessed in that video. Such profound unity is needed to truly make change. But my second emotion is worry. Worry that despite all the action taken so far, we're failing to apply concerted effort to fix the root causes of racial injustice in America, and failing to see the roles that each of us can play in creating change. You see, my name's Darrell Coleman, and I'm the founder and CEO of DC Design, a social impact strategy and design consulting firm. We partner with social sector organizations to develop lasting solutions to America's biggest social problems. Problems like poverty, poor human health, and racial injustice. Through our human-centered design process, we've helped governments and nonprofits reduce the number of people returning to jail, increase the number of Latino and other English language learner students in pre-K, improve housing stability, and reduce homelessness for low-income people of color. And as we've worked on issue after issue, here's what I've found. There are patterns to the outcomes we experience in our society. These patterns are predictable because they're based on systems that produce the same outcomes over and over again. In order to create change, we need to see the systems that produce these patterns and then create intentional initiatives that target what's broken. George Floyd's death triggered a familiar pattern of protest and racial unrest. And while these two things take a different form, they're both responses to the same thing: inequality. Eliminate Black inequality, and both the protests and riots will disappear. There are 5 dominant systems of Black inequality to address. I want to help you see how they build on one another to push people into poverty while producing disproportionately negative life outcomes. To help you clearly see how these systems build on top of one another, I'm going to focus specifically on how they affect Black Americans. To start, a definition. Systemic inequality, also called structural inequality, is inequality that's produced by the way that our laws, policies, procedures, processes, and other systems in society are set up. Its effect is to create an unequal playing field where some face additional challenges just because of who they are. This is the type of inequality we're dealing with here. It can affect anyone, manifesting in the rates of suicide for military veterans, the lack of employment for people with disabilities, a lack of career advancement for women, or even manifest along racial lines, at which point it's often called systemic racism. In the coming videos, I'm going to walk you through each of the 5 main systems that produce Black inequality generation after generation. My hope is that once we can see these systems clearly, we can come together to create the change that's truly needed to reduce racial unrest and help people thrive.